I just wanted to ask, like, how do I format like a hybrid plan with calisthenics and weightlifting? Because I want to do weightlifting and calisthenics, but mostly mainly focus on calisthenics and learn some skills.
All right. So, what are your current numbers with the pull ups and dips?
So for pull-ups, like fresh energy, I could probably do like 3 or 4, and then for dips, probably 10.
10. Okay. And in regards to your skills, like what skills are you trying to like obtain in the near future?
So I'm trying to attain the handstand push-up and the handstand, maybe the front lever, and then work towards the planche.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, those are good goals to have. So, the reason why I asked the first question was just to assess your current level of strength. So that's going to be like the first area of focus that we need to talk about. So, your pull ups, you said about 3 to 4 reps, your dips, about 10 reps per set. So, we need to make sure that we are focusing on increasing our foundational strength on these basic movements of calisthenics, right? So if you don't have good pulling strength, then you will never get good at the front lever, the skill that you want to obtain. If you don't have great pushing strength from the dips and the push-ups, then you're not going to be able to learn like the handstand push-ups, right? So it's important to really lock in on improving your strength on the pull-ups and dips. And there's many ways to go about it. For your specific strength level, you want to utilize frequency to your advantage, meaning you want to train the pull-ups and the dips multiple times per week at moderate intensity levels. So you're not always training with high intensities, meaning you're not training to failure every single session with those pull-ups or dip exercises. So then that way, are we good? Still talk? Are we still good at time hearing like background noises?
Give me a sec.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
All right.
If you want, you can just mute your mic whenever I'm speaking, if there's a lot of background noises, and then unmute it whenever you need to speak. Is that cool? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not wasting time because I do have another call I got to hop on in the next 10 minutes. But back to my train of thought. With the pull ups and dips, the way that I'll approach for your specific strength level is to train at least 2 to 3 times per week, right? Don't train it with high intensities each session. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to actually practice the movement. Because whenever you want to learn a movement, whenever you want to increase your strength in a particular movement, but you don't have the strength to even do it yet, you need to practice that specific exercise so you can understand how to, engage the right muscle groups to execute the exercise correctly. And there's techniques to how you approach it too. So you want to have like a more higher intensity day where you actually just practice how to pull up your body to the bar, for example, by doing like multiple sets, but few repetitions. And then you want to have like a lower intensity day where you're doing more so focusing on techniques such as utilizing like thick bands to just get more volume, perhaps doing, just ways to just learn how to incorporate the pull-ups by practicing it, not necessarily to like train it to failure. So does that part make sense specifically? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's like I said, it's 2 to 3 times per week. You want to use frequency to your advantage. In regards to how to train calisthenics and weightlifting, the question really becomes like, what is the priority? Is it calisthenics? Is it weightlifting?
I would say calisthenics mostly. So
Yeah. And that kind of aligns too with the way I was going to frame the answer is because let's say you didn't want to have the priority as weightlifting, but your pull-ups and dips was lacking, then it will become much more difficult to focus on increasing your pull-up and dip strength if that's not the priority. So the framework of how you approach your training will become much more simpler when you know your goals aligns with the way you actually implement your overall training goals. So the way I approach implementing calisthenics and weightlifting is I don't really focus specifically on exercise. I actually focus more so on the muscle group if my goal is to build a body with it, right? So let's say, for example, if I wanted to build my back, I would look at what exercises best develops the back, right? So you got two movement patterns specifically to your back. You got the vertical pull, which is going to be the pull-ups. You got the horizontal pull, which can be any rowing variation, whether it's inverted rows or whether it's like dumbbell rows, barbell rows. But now the question now becomes to specificity, right? That's another key component to increasing strength. So because you want to learn the pull-ups, you got to make sure that you're training specific to the pull-ups. So going back to my previous point, the horizontal row, what exercise best helps in us learning the pull-ups? That's going to be the inverted row. Why? Because this exercise is also training relative to your body weight, and it's going to help you understand the dynamics of learning how to pull, but more so in that horizontal plane. Whereas the pull-ups, you're pulling in the vertical plane. And this is where you come into play of like training specific to the pull-ups, and you're also training specific to building muscle to your back. So this is all important in regards to like learning how to choose exercises based off your specific goals and just what makes the most sense from a bodybuilding lens as well.
Okay. So I saw one of your videos, I think a couple of months ago, where you did compound movements first, so like calisthenics exercise, and then the accessory work. So I could do something like that. You think?
Yeah. So the reason why I approach it that way is compounds first is because whenever you are training, you want to make sure that you're utilizing your energy efficiently, meaning compound movements is going to be more taxing on the body versus isolation based movements. They're least taxing. So whenever you're more fresh, you want to make sure you knock out the most taxing exercises, right? But also, if you want to learn skills, there's a technical component that comes into play. So that actually takes the hierarchy as being number one as the priority, because whenever you're more fresh in terms of energy, you can adequately train with optimized technique. Whereas if you aren't fresh, then technique is going to be the limiting factor to training that skill. So that's why it's important to train like your skills first, because you're most fresh, because it's technically demanding, and then train your, let's say, rep work, which is the compounds, right after the skills. And then the rest of the rep work would be like the isolations or the secondary compounds, depending on how you approach the actual workout split. So that's the reason why I approach it with that specific hierarchy.
Okay. A couple months ago, I did write a comment in one of your videos. I'm the guy who was doing the L-sit pull-ups on the parallel bars, if you remember, because I didn't have equipment.
You commented on one of my videos on YouTube or where?
On YouTube, yeah.
I don't think I remember, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, and you made a video after that saying it was a bad exercise. I mean, it's a decent exercise, I could see, but that's all I had to work with. So I could do like a couple, like 6 or 7 L-sit pull-ups, but it's just my wide grip pull-ups are bad in gym. So
Okay.
try to implement doing that in my workouts. And to train for a muscle up, do you need to train explosive pull-ups or?
Yeah, so going back to your actual other point, I do remember now because I did make a video about something about how like the L pull-ups wasn't ideal or optimal. But it's not that the exercise is bad. It's just more so it's you're putting in 2 exercises in one. And the thing is with calisthenics, it's already hard, right? And it's actually going to lead on to your next question, because the L pull-ups, right? You do have to be explosive to some degree, but you can't. If you don't have that explosiveness to start, the L pull-ups become harder. And to answer your question about the muscle up, how do you train for explosiveness, and are you supposed to be explosive with the muscle ups? Well, that can all be fixed by training the weighted pull-ups. That's why I say the weighted pull-ups, or just the basic standard pull-up variation with added weight, is more beneficial than training L pull-ups. It's more beneficial than training other variations, because it's A, training for strength, which is going to give you explosiveness, and B, it's training for hypertrophy, which is going to build that back. So hopefully I answered both your question from that one point.
Yeah, you did. And I just wanted to ask, so how many reps do you think is like a good like benchmark to then start doing weighted pull-ups?
Yeah, and this might be my last question because got 3 minutes left. But the benchmark to reach for pull-ups and dips and push-ups is gonna be varied, right? It's not like absolute. So I would like to say anywhere between 8 to 15 reps, but more so 10 to 15 on pull-ups for 3 sets. On dips, 15 reps. If you can do 15 reps on dips, then you're good. But if you can milk it to 20 reps, that's even better. Anything beyond 20 reps, I would say it's not necessary. Not that it's inefficient, I just would say it's not necessary. For push-ups, standard push-ups, this is where the numbers needs to become a little bit more higher because it is a much easier exercises compared to the predecessors, right? So this will be probably anywhere between 30 to 40 reps per set. So if one can hit 8 to 15 reps on pull-ups, 15 to 20 reps on dips, 30 to 40 reps on push-ups, they're going to have a very strong base to transition to weighted calisthenics and not start off with very light loads, right? So the standards that I've given, you can be lenient or you can be strict, and that will determine your starting point with weighted calisthenics, you know?
Okay, yeah, I understand. And what do you recommend is the best split for a hybrid training? So upper lower, full body, or
I'll tell you this. Since we only got a minute left, it's not necessarily the workout split that determines success. It's understanding the principles of applying the standard strength progression methods, right? And I've talked about this throughout my videos, whether it's somebody who's trying to get into weighted calisthenics, someone who's been doing weighted calisthenics, trying to become more elite or advanced. It's all about applying the right strength strategies, meaning you can do push-pull legs, you can do upper lower, you could do any split. I'm doing skill day and full body day. I haven't seen anybody do that, but I'm still making progress. Not to say that no one's doing it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it, right? So what I'm trying to say is the workout split doesn't matter. It's more so the principles of varying your intensities, meaning not always training failure every single session, varying your rep ranges, making sure that you're allocating enough volume for your exercises and muscle groups per week and not too much. We're not doing anything crazy, and not training too low in volume as well. Otherwise, you're not going to progress. And then taking deload weeks. This is periodization. So if you understand this concept of periodizing your training with those variables that I mentioned earlier, that can help you dictate what's the workout split suitable for you. Now, if you want help to create a program that's suitable for your goals, that's flexible enough to train calisthenics, weightlifting, and also learn skills like the handstand push-up, like I could definitely work with you. This is something that I do literally as my day-to-day services. I just worked with somebody who was doing Muay Thai as well, in addition to their calisthenics and weightlifting training for his specific own goals and split. So if that's something like you're interested in, I could definitely work with you. I'll email you with a couple questions, but pretty much what this will do is just give you a very tailored program based off your goals, based off your current strength levels, meaning getting you to the point to get into weighted calisthenics by perfecting your basics with the pull-ups and dips, learning those skills, building the physique, understanding how to implement those strength principles. So this is all going to be encompassed within the email. So now, if you want to eliminate the decision-making process and stress of knowing how to restructure your entire workout plan, I'm actually hosting free consultation calls where you can pretty much just ask me any kind of questions that you have and walk me through your training, explain to me what goals you have with calisthenics, and I'll be able to help pinpoint exactly what areas needs to be improved. This is all to help reach your goals. So if you're interested, be sure to click the link in the description or check the pinned comment.
Cobra Trains, he's up next. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. He's number one out here.
He's the toughest fitness guy out here.